Hello and welcome to another video. I want to jump on and talk about why I'm trying to lose 100 pounds this year. So I currently weigh in at around 240 pounds, give or take a couple of pounds, and quite frankly it's big. I'm just sick of being uncomfortable, sick of being in pain, sick of feeling really So I really wanted to be super intense with my weight loss this year. Weight loss has been a focus, I suppose, of mine like for as long as I can remember. It kind of starts out super intensely and then sort of just peters out over the year. But this year I think I really want to make sure that I hit my goal, definitely before I hit 30. I am currently 28 years old. I turned 29 in July this year, so I've got about 18 months before I'm 30, and I'd like to be around my ideal weight. Not so much the weight as a focus, the weight is a tangible number goal that I can see as a result, but more importantly for myself, it's feeling good, it's feeling healthy, it's having energy, it's being able to go for a run, just because I can, and without it impacting my feet, without it impacting my lungs too much. Actually, speaking of my feet, I have plantar fasciitis, started on my left foot, had that for about 18 months, and then with me taking weight off my left foot, I transferred my plantar fasciitis to my right foot. So just another ailment that comes with being a bigger person. So yeah, that's why I'm wanting to lose 100 pounds. I will post up here my weigh-in kind of day. I took some videos of just some clothes that I want to fit into better at the end of the year. Ideally 100 pounds down, but I'm not super focused on that number specifically. If I am 50 pounds down, 70 pounds down, 30 pounds down, that would be still amazing. Some form of weight loss is good, because every year I aim to lose weight, and every year I might drop 5 kgs or less, but I'm pretty much at maintenance and have been at maintenance for a decent amount of time now. I don't have much of a backstory for why I'm overweight. I was never the sport kid. I didn't enjoy sports. I never really enjoyed moving around, but I say I had a fairly active lifestyle. I grew up with 3 brothers, all younger than me, and we always played outside. I lived at the beach, and so we were always over at the beach and running around at school and all that stuff. And then when I was around 11 or 12, a comment was made by my biological father about my stomach and how I should start sucking it in, because I was starting to put on weight at 11 years old, which is honestly ridiculous and so hypocritical when I think about it now, because he literally had the biggest beer gut. That's when I started, I'd say that's when my disordered eating started. I would only take fruit to school, and I wouldn't eat breakfast. I would only have half the fruit that I took, come home, have nothing for afternoon tea, and then just absolutely pig out for dinner, the biggest meal for dinner. And it was that every day. And so this weird fluctuation of not eating and starving myself, and then having to make up for and compensate at the end of the day. This is what I looked like around 11 years old. This is the only photo I could find where I look sassy as heck. But yeah, you can see I wasn't a tiny child. I wasn't big either. I'd say for an 11-year-old, pretty normal. I was about to go through puberty, so my body was probably starting to pack on the weight. But yeah, again, nothing absurd. We also, my biological father's lifestyle wasn't healthy either. So the example that I was given wasn't ideal. I say biological father because he is not a parent figure in my life anymore. Just for context, I suppose that is. I don't have contact with him anymore. When my parents split up, I moved in with my mum, and my eating habits were better, but subconsciously in the back of my mind I was still very conscious of what I looked like, knowing I had moved away from my childhood place. I lived at a beach town and moved into a bigger city. I don't know, there was just a shift. Like, I wasn't a child. The moment I left that house, I was no longer a child, and I was a young teenager. I was about 12. I think I was 12 when I moved out. And yeah, my eating was fine. I don't think I really focused too much on what I was eating when I was living with my mum. I had pretty good lunches, and dinners were home cooked, and yeah, there was just not really a focus. And then moving into when I was turning about 15, 16, naturally there's just something that happens when you're at 15, 16 in high school. Your look and your body you just become so aware of it. And I got super intense into fitness. I have a best friend who was very fit. She did cheerleading, but also her mentality was very unhealthy. She was worried about eating a chocolate bar because she didn't want to be heavy as a flyer in cheerleading. So she was my best friend, so I was around that mentality all the time. And I was definitely bigger than her because just my structure. She was a little petite person. My structure was not little and petite. Very different body structures. But that comparison was there in the back of my mind, so I always felt fat. So I got super intensely into fitness, into dieting, into running, and again started going back to my old habit of not eating at school, coming home, not eating afternoon tea, and then just absolutely pigging out at dinner. I mean, a lot of it is a blur because it kind of all was just one big area, but that was my habit. Moving out of home, in my freshman year of university, about 20 kgs I put on, and then transferred to a different uni after that first year where I changed my degree a little bit. I went down to study nutrition, moved cities, and ended up doing sport and exercise science, and that was my healthiest year, I would say, because I was around the science. I was learning about the science of how our bodies work with nutrition, with exercise, and it became less about what my body looked like and more about how it could function. And yeah, so that was my healthiest year. I didn't lose a ton of weight. I think I maybe lost about 10 kgs and weighed around, I live in New Zealand, so kgs is our default metric. Pounds, my goal of 100 pounds, the number sounds nicer than losing 52 kgs. 100-pound weight loss, just, I don't know, in my brain that just makes more sense. Yeah, I lost around 10 kgs that year just because I was being healthy in terms of how I was moving my body, in terms of how I was fueling my body. Then I moved up to another city where I had met my ex, and that was just one big unhealthy relationship, and a lot of weight was put on. I put on about 30 kilos quite quickly. I would say in about a year I put on 30. A year and a half, put on 30 kilos, and have pretty much maintained that for 5 years. I've been sitting at the 100 kg, just above the 100 kg mark for 5 years now. And for me, it's not so much how my body looks that gets to me, it's just the discomfort and the ailments of living life as a bigger person. I am in the obese section of the BMI, which BMI should be taken with a grain of salt, but only when you're at the lower end. As an obese person, I'm not packing muscle, I just am fat. It's just a fact. And there's no shame to that. I think that's the biggest thing, is I don't feel shame about being fat. I don't feel shame about it. My focus is I am uncomfortable, I'm in pain, I'm coming up to 30, and I don't want to be just staying at this level, this lower quality of life, I guess is the best way to put it. Like, I've got a sister who's about to turn 12 years old. She's very active, she runs around, and I can't keep up with her. I've got a couple of nieces and nephews, and again, I can't run around because I'm so unfit all the time. I'm hot all the time, which is, I think, just because I have this extra insulation all over my body. I'm constantly overheated. It's currently summer in New Zealand, and I just am like all the time. I have not diagnosed, but I've got symptoms of mild sleep apnea, so I stop breathing in my sleep, which I'd kind of always taken quite lightly, like, oh haha, I stop breathing sometimes, and then I like wake myself up because I'll be like, And I was talking to my dietitian that I was seeing last year. She was like, please sort that out, please sort that out. It's literally fatal. And I don't know, just it kind of clicked in my mind that actually, yeah, I could just literally die in my sleep one night because the weight around my neck, just again, lack of fitness in my lungs. I also have really inflamed stomach, like my gut. I can't digest carbs, which I've talked about in the last couple of videos, just because I'm gluten intolerant and have just honestly ignored it my whole life. And so my stomach is so angry at me that I can't digest normal food that I'm not normally intolerant to. It's a lot of starchy things, so potatoes, rice, bananas, quinoa is hit and miss. Yeah, anything super starchy my body doesn't like, it can't absorb. I get reflux, I get heartburn and indigestion, phlegm. Phlegm's a big one. I wake up with phlegm every day. And then, yeah, just aside from the general lack of fitness, I'd like to just be able to move more without feeling so literally heavy. Heavy is the word. I feel heavy, I'm unfit, my lungs are dying all the time. I took my blood pressure last night. My mum's studying nursing, so she has a blood pressure thing and it's on the higher side. I normally have lower blood pressure. Not abnormally low, but my normal is on the lower side, and so to see that flip up to the higher side is quite a concern. I have diabetes, type 2 diabetes that runs in my family, so there's a predisposition there. And yeah, I just want to be healthy. Honestly, I just am so sick of being fat. Quite purely just being fat. So yeah, that's my why. I think the intensity of trying to lose 100 pounds this year, it's not a strict rule, it's not a all or nothing, it's more of that's how desperate I am to really get healthy and to create, I guess, the urgency of changing my lifestyle, because I've yo-yo dieted my whole life since I was 11 years old. I've been yo-yoing between diets, between various forms of disordered eating, all these different things, and I'm just sick of being sick. So to create that level, that sense of urgency in my mind is what the 100 pounds is. If it takes me a little bit longer than a year, like, that's fine, it is what it is. I guess if you think like an alcoholic, an alcoholic can't slowly wean off alcohol. I mean, like, in the short term, they should, because if an alcoholic just suddenly cuts off cold turkey, it's really, really bad. It can be fatal. But it's such a short amount of time that they wean, and then they can't touch alcohol after that. That is it. So for me, it's the same mentality. Create that short time where there's a weaning, and then just lifestyle change. It's just completely flipping, because I can't keep living the way that I have been, because it's not healthy. So I have to change my whole mindset, my whole lifestyle from this moment forward. Last year for me was the mental shift. That was where I was becoming aware of what I was eating, more aware of how my body was acting, more aware of what my life and my quality of life was like, as it is. And so that was my weaning for me. And this year it's like, okay, serious lifestyle change. We are 180, repenting, turning around and walking in a different direction. So that's my why. My method, 75 hard, is this the first part of the year, I guess first quarter, focusing on 75 hard. 75 hard for myself is not super intense. I'm not going the method of, like, if I fail a day, I start from day one again. It's just 75 days of trying to be as consistent as possible. Hitting either 80% of my goal for the day, I would count that as a win. And then overall, out of the 75 days, hitting 80% of the days where I complete 75 hard. And that's just because in the past, when I've done something and failed is a quotation term, it hasn't been good for my mental state. So if I can by creating that 20% buffer, my two words, I suppose, states of mind for this year are kintsugi, which is the Japanese art form of creating a broken piece and mending it with gold lacquer, and then also 80-20 as a mindset, just to allow myself the grace of being human, of making mistakes and falling over and slipping up, and also that becomes its own reminder of, like, just to keep going. You can still work towards the 80%, which on my walk the other day I was thinking about it, and 80% out of 365 days is I think it's like 73 days or something like that. So that's how much grace I have for the year, 73 days where I can just, like, last Saturday was a total blob day. I did nothing. I lay in bed all day, and that's okay, because it's normal, because I'm going to have days like that. So that's my method going into this year, into this 100-pound weight loss. But yeah, I'm still excited to lose 100 pounds. I'm still excited to have a lifestyle change, to get to the end of the year and go back through and create that transformation video. Again, whether it be 100 pounds or whether it be 50. Yeah, so thanks for watching, and I hope you will follow along.